A woman was in for a shock after a quiet pizza night to celebrate when all of a sudden the delivery driver came back, not quite happy about their tip, and they brought a knife, but not to cut the pizza.
I'm like, oh my God, these people came in here to hurt us.
Detectives say they found surveillance video linking her to the crime and arrested her on a warrant the next day.
Melinda Irizarry, a 37-year-old woman, was having a little staycation with her boyfriend Bobby Brooks and their 5-year-old daughter to celebrate Bobby's birthday. It was a few days before Christmas, and the small family had booked room 102 at the Riviera Motel, a small 2-star spot in Kissimmee, Florida. They were eagerly waiting for the pizza and chicken wings they'd ordered from the nearby Marco's just down the road. At approximately 10 p.m., there was a knock on the door. The bill was $33.10. Melinda handed over a $50 bill to the delivery driver, who started walking away. Melinda was taken aback since she was expecting some change and asked the driver to stop. The driver, a short young woman, told Melinda that they didn't carry cash, store policy. So Melinda, taking back the $50, scrounged around for smaller bills both in her purse and her car. She was able to come up with $35.10 to pay for the pizza, leaving the driver with a $2 tip. There's more to that, which we'll break down in a bit, but the delivery driver rolled her eyes and walked away without saying anything. Little did Melinda know that $2 tip would cost her. About an hour and a half later, there was a loud banging on the door. Melinda, woken up, opened the door and came face to face with a tall man wearing black clothing, his face obscured with a mask, holding a silver revolver. Behind him was a woman wearing a similar outfit. The duo forced their way into the room. The man quickly moved in to isolate Bobby into the bathroom, while the woman started rifling through the family's possessions. She was brandishing a black pocket knife. So Melinda's first priority was to protect her daughter from the assailant, propping the little girl onto the bed for safety. As the woman dumped out the contents of Melinda's purse, smashing her daughter's Nintendo Switch in the process, Bobby was still being held in the bathroom. He could hear the commotion going on in the room, but couldn't escape from being held at gunpoint. The man who broke in had smashed his phone, and he had no way to call for help. Then, a horrifying thing happened. There were sounds of a struggle and a loud thunk. Meanwhile, Melinda had been hit, but initially thought that the woman had just punched her. She couldn't really see what happened because she had turned her back to the woman in order to shield her daughter from seeing the worst of it. Having tried to pick up her phone after lifting her daughter onto the bed, the assailant had grabbed at it, smashing it on the ground. It all happened too fast. As she looked downwards, Melinda saw blood. The woman continued to strike at Melinda on the back until the man yelled that it was time to go. The two suspects fled the scene as quickly as they broke in. Meanwhile, Bobby came out of the bathroom to a shocking scene. Melinda had been stabbed. She was rushed to Osceola Regional Hospital into emergency surgery due to a ruptured lung. Doctors found stab wounds to her chest, arms, legs, and abdomen, 14 in total. On top of that, the hospital had to inform Melinda that she was a few weeks pregnant. She didn't know. As Melinda was undergoing emergency surgery due to the nature of the incident, Officer Atubal, deputy for the sheriff, quickly started the investigation. They had responded to the scene at the motel, sending Melinda to the hospital and taken Bobby's statement. Now it was time to find the culprits. Checking the Riviera Motel's video footage, the officer watched as a red Toyota Camry arrived at the hotel with a delivery driver, a woman, coming out of the car at 10 p.m. She was wearing a black jacket with black capri pants, a black hat, and black high-top shoes. Looking into other video footage from the area, the officer found that the same car later pulled into the parking lot of Johnson Surveying, a building just to the southeast of the motel, at 11:22 p.m. the same night. Among the two people disembarking from the car, even with the mask on, the woman was wearing the same clothes, black capris, high tops. Video evidence showed the suspects entering the motel room at the time of the break-in. The rest of the investigation was fairly simple. The sheriff's department contacted the manager of Marco's Pizza, Geraldo Pecunia, who was able to provide the name of the delivery driver who took Melinda and Bobby's order, Brianna Alvelo, a 22-year-old woman in their employment. He confirmed that she drove a red Toyota Camry. The footage from Marco's Pizza confirmed that Brianna was wearing all black that night, a hat, jacket, and capri pants, with high-top shoes. Her time card, also provided to the officers, showed that she had clocked out at 10:20 p.m., about an hour before the incident. The next day, after getting a warrant, Osceola County Sheriff's Office arrested Brianna Alvelo on charges of attempted murder for the stabbing, home invasion with a firearm due to the forced entry, kidnapping for keeping Bobby in the bathroom under gunpoint, and aggravated assault with deadly weapon with an intent to commit a felony. However, they weren't able to identify the male assailant, who is still at large. When information about the case was published on Facebook, people were shocked. Some people didn't like her facial expression. She doesn't even look like she thinks what she did is wrong. Like, she almost looks proud of what she did. The smirk on her face says everything you need to know about Cold Soul. She's finished in life all over $2. Shows how she is. Others were incredulous. Keep the thug locked up. She could have harmed her unborn child. And I'm sure the lady's baby girl is traumatized from these people harming her mom. She really needs to sit in Osceola just off the baby seeing there and seeing all that. 22 years old and threw her life away like nothing. How much of a tip can you really expect from a pizza delivery? Even 30% isn't much money. I can't believe someone would become this violent over a few dollars like that. Insane. Ruined lives over a few bucks. Young people don't think right. 20 to 30 years in prison. For what? A $2 tip? She was pretty, healthy, and had her youth. Now, all down the drain. She came back, so how is the public defender going to say it wasn't premeditated? Public defender doesn't want to work too much in the first place and so will acquiesce to the government. Some people thought there was more to the situation. There is a big mistake, maybe did by the victim. That's why this woman got revenge. There's something else to this story if you ask me. Unbelievable. Wow. Is any of this story true, or is she being targeted because she is a woman? People were not defending Brianna. I'm hoping she spends forever in prison, and I'm hoping the other person is caught. This would warm my heart. OMG, nobody is obligated to tip you. Be thankful you got anything at all. On top of that, I know you make hourly wage. And others talked about their own experiences on not getting tipped. I would be disappointed if a customer didn't give a donation, but I didn't follow them to their car to inflict bodily harm. Logical sense in this situation is simple. Giving a gratuity/donation for service is optional, and sometimes disappointment surfaces when one does not tip. But there is no reason to seek harmful revenge. I've been a server over 10 years and never thought about harming anybody who leave a low tip. I know I do my job good. Some people don't have it. And some people, like me, tip if your service was good with a smile and all. So, what ticked Brianna off? Let's break down what really happened according to Melinda's sworn statement taken after her surgery. You'll remember that Melinda handed the driver a $50 bill to pay. The driver started to turn around and walk away with the money. Melinda stopped her, asking for the change, only to be told that the shop doesn't provide change. Now, when Melinda started rummaging through her purse for smaller bills, she pulled out her pink everyday change wallet. Looking through it, which had about $60 in $20 bills. She pulled out her black wallet that she used for savings, all in front of Brianna. In the wallet, she had $120 in larger denominations. Not being able to find smaller bills in either wallet, Melinda left the motel room door open with Brianna still waiting and walked out to her car, checking the vehicle for smaller cash. She didn't find any and went back into the room with the driver still hanging out in the doorway. Back inside, Melinda asked Bobby for $5 so she could settle the bill. Finally, Bobby came up with $5, and Melinda handed over $35.10 to cover for the $33.10 order. Brianna, apparently not thrilled, rolled her eyes and walked off without saying a word. And while Melinda isn't really at fault here, being polite and thorough, Brianna probably felt stiffed after seeing Melinda had some cash at hand, coming to the conclusion that she didn't want to give a good tip. Now, let's have a quick look at what the $2 tip means in context of the order. The tip amounts to around 6% of the total. And while getting a low tip doesn't excuse Brianna's actions, even rolling her eyes, let alone coming back in a fit of rage, let's explore why this percentage is considered low. Well, tipping culture in the US is a whole thing, and Florida is no exception, especially in a tourist-heavy spot like Kissimmee, where Melinda and her family were staycationing. In fact, Americans think tipping is not just a nice thing to do, it's baked into the way service workers make a living. For restaurant staff, bartenders, and delivery drivers, tips often are their main source of income because their hourly wage is typically laughably low. While the federal minimum wage is $7.25 an hour, tipped workers can legally earn as little as $2.13 an hour, with tips making up the difference. If we look at where this happened, Florida's minimum wage is a bit higher at $13 an hour, but tipped employees still depend on that income. And well, Brianna got a 6% tip when the standard tipping etiquette is around 15 to 20%, which would have been $5 to $7 in this case. She might not have appreciated being made to wait at the motel door while Melinda was rifling around for $5, even though the delivery was just down the road, near the end of her shift, and then all that effort and waiting around just amounted to $2. Also, Kissimmee is practically Disney's backyard. With the influx of foreign tourists who might not understand or care about tipping norms in the US, workers in the area are often bracing for small tips, and that frustration can bubble over when it happens repeatedly. But on the other side of the coin, are customers being disgruntled about tipping culture in general? A lot of customers feel like tipping has gone from a thank you for exceptional service to now being expected no matter what. Some customers argue that employers should be paying their workers a livable wage in the first place, and ordering delivery, especially with delivery fees already tacked on, feels like you're paying twice just to get your dinner to your door after tipping. Then there's the frustration over what people see as mismatched effort and expectation. For a short distance delivery down the street, it's hard for some folks to justify tipping 20%, just like how it's annoying to be prompted to tip at self-checkout places or coffee shops. In any case, while Melinda's low tip might have pushed Brianna over the tipping point, it's hard to say why Brianna wanted to hurt her in retaliation. Journalists from the US Sun also uncovered some dark things from Brianna Alvelo's past. According to court documents, she was charged with battery in a domestic dispute in September 2020 when police were called to a home in Kissimmee. She had gone into a physical altercation with another woman over an argument about the lack of respect Brianna had shown towards her. The victim claimed that she had been loading the dishwasher when Brianna, aged 18 at the time, allegedly slapped her in the head, followed by punches on the woman's lip and arm. In her police statement, Brianna claimed that she didn't mean anything by it, that while she had indeed hit the woman, they were playing around. The officers identified Brianna as the primary aggressor, charging her with battery. Brianna Alvelo has a couple traffic crimes on her record too, but this battery incident shows that she had a tendency towards violence prior to her altercation with Melinda. Marco's Pizza, where Brianna worked, released a statement saying, "The safety and well-being of customers and team members are always our top priority, and we are taking this incident very seriously." The statement didn't really help them with getting flooded with negative reviews. "Do not order from here. Marcos, do y'all do background checks? It's crazy ordering something to eat and having the delivery person come back an hour later attempting to kill the person ordering food over a $2 tip. Make sure you tip your delivery driver. The owner of this place should at least run a background check on their employees. Now I'm scared ordering here. I don't know what kind of person is gonna deliver my pizza." Some people were making jokes about the situation. Brianna was awesome. She had great customer service, ordered a violent knife attack, and couldn't be more satisfied. 10 out of 10 would highly recommend. Some Redditors were discussing the whole situation, trying to figure out what Brianna's justification was for going back to the motel. Sounds like they were going back for that $50 bill they knew she had. The stabbing part I don't get. Kissimmee is often where you stay if you're going to Disney. She probably thought they were tourists and had more cash, got mad when she didn't get what she wanted. Stabbing is an angry thing to do. Or she's a straight They sometimes don't even need provocation. This person is obviously They have her car on camera and her job literally sent her there. Only a moron steals where they work. Lived there for over 20 years. Tourists usually tip better than the locals. A delivery at a motel, there is a low probability of getting a decent tip. But if they are from a resort or higher-end hotel, the tips are slightly higher. Since it's the holidays, the tips are bigger too, but she is wild. They own a car and a gun but went back for $50? Sounds more like she wanted to kill this woman. She also broke the victim's phone as opposed to stealing it. Some commenters were trying to figure out why delivery drivers didn't carry change. She probably did have change but lied in hopes that she'd get to keep the $50. A lot of places do now advertise, "Our drivers do not carry more than $20 in cash," but for the opposite of this reason, trying to stop the driver from getting mugged instead of the customer. Bro, how do you not have $17 in change as a delivery driver? She probably would have gotten a bigger tip if it wasn't $2 versus $17. This bitch should have stabbed herself for being irresponsible, but I bet she was playing the victim card in her head over and over. You rob them for a couple $100 at most in her own car. Absolutely moronic. Maybe it's the same deal as taxi drivers somehow having both a broken card machine and no change. They hope you'll give up and give them the big bill. One person advised, no contact delivery only. Most people agreed that Brianna had no excuse, but talked about who was likely to tip more. I was a pizza delivery driver for 7 years, and I got $0 for huge orders more than I care to remember. Never stabbed anyone. I delivered pizza for a couple of years. The worst tippers were always the people who clearly had money, in my experience. There was one in particular who lived in a large house that fronted a bay, and there was a large boat tied to a large dock. Always ordered 3 to 5 pizzas and never tipped. Meanwhile, the people who were obviously pinching pennies were often the best with tips. Yeah, that was my experience. Rich people were the worst tippers in general. The best tippers were people who should have tipped less. I think that is probably an empathy difference. By that logic, sounds like supporting the tipping culture is indirectly exploiting the generosity of the poor, and some people argued it wasn't about the tip. Can we say this was really about the tip and not an opportunity to rob a family staying at a motel and thinking they could get away with it? Yeah, it seems more like she and her scumbag friends saw an opportunity and they took it. And well, Melinda seemed to agree that it wasn't about the money.
Got the money. My boyfriend told you where there was more money, and you didn't go get it.
So, what happened after Brianna's arrest? Well, she was booked into Osceola County Jail on no bond. During her first court appearance on the 26th of December, she was visibly dazed when prosecutors recommended that the sentencing for her crimes should be punishable by life in prison.
You're not going to be able to bond out.
And what about her victim? Well, Melinda Irizarry is in stable condition after going through emergency surgery to repair her punctured lung and will seemingly have to relearn how to walk since she has damage on the tendons in her knee after a knee surgery. She needed over 200 staples for her wounds where she was struck by the knife. Since the male aggressor still hasn't been found, Melinda talked about being scared of the situation.
I am scared, and he knows exactly how he looks. He stared at that man for how long with a gun pointed to his head. I want them to get him as soon as possible because they're monsters. They should not be out in the street.
This is an overall sad situation, since Melinda's life was in serious jeopardy while her 5-year-old daughter had to witness the traumatizing moments when all the little family wanted was to celebrate a birthday and make the moment a special occasion right before Christmas. Moreover, they had to find out about Melinda's pregnancy at the hospital under these circumstances. Brianna did throw away the rest of her life. Even if she somehow doesn't get a life sentence, as her court case finalizes, as a convicted felon, she would have a really difficult time getting a job. And well, not to victim blame or anything, but if you're looking for cash while the delivery person is waiting at the threshold, maybe just close the door, or better yet, have it ready before they arrive. What do you think about this case? Let me know in the comments, and please remember to subscribe if you like these videos.